Welcome to today's forum. Let's think about who stole the future of Taiwanese. In Taiwan, we just finished our New Year vacation, and many people are already thinking about when the next vacation will be. Speaker and writer Seth Godin once said, instead of thinking about when the next vacation is, maybe you should think about how to create a life that you won't escape from. If we want to escape from the present life, is it because life is full of difficulties? Let's take a look at the data of the current situation in Taiwan. The General Accounting Office has revised that Taiwan's economic growth rate in 2021 was 6.09%, a record high in 11 years. But why are Taiwanese people not hopeful about the future? And the average annual working hours of Taiwanese workers last year were 2,021 hours, ranking fourth among 40 major countries. But why can't they afford a house after working so hard? The well-known philanthropist Shen Xinling also recently proposed that Taiwan faced 5 poverty dilemmas: poor livelihood, poor heart, poor justice, poor dignity, and poor generations. These survival dilemmas really make young people very anxious. However, anxiety is normal and even a good thing. Rollo May, the father of existential philosophy, once said, anxiety is far from than a type of emotion. It's basically a sense of urgency that you want to realize the meaning of your life. And the meaning is to remind you that your life is more than that. Therefore, when we start to get anxious and start to see problems, that's when we start to change. So today, we invite 5 young people and a senior who was concerned about young people. How can they turn anxiety to motivation? They will discuss who stole the future of Taiwanese and will find a way to the better future in Taiwan. So in the beginning, I would like to invite everyone to think if you have had the ambition to not only managing a family well and even run the country of yours during school days, but afterwards the reality shattered your dreams. Nick, a Taiwanese young man and a financial practitioner, will be the first one to speak up today. He has been through the above situation and will discuss in depth of unknown shady stories behind the social reality. Let's welcome Nick.
Hello everyone, I'm volunteer of Tax and Legal Reform League. My name is Nick Teng. Today I have something to say. The voice of youth in Taiwan. I was born and raised in Taiwan. During my school years, I always had high hope that through my learning and hard working, I can take care of my family and make a difference in the society when I grew up. However, in last years, after entering the workforce, I witnessed that the wage has gone down and inflation has gone up. Yet, overtax has been risen year after year. Because the tax system is unjust and opaque, and a few raw bureaucrats of Taiwan's National Taxation Bureau cause business owners to pay unjustified taxes, causing many businesses to close or move out, resulting in a significant reduction in job opportunities. This negative effect had made me, who used to work for my family's business, truly feel the impact on our business operation. Recently, our family made a major decision to close the 18-year-long family business to avoid losses. During this period, I also became a volunteer of Tax and Legal Reform League, which gave me the opportunity to see deep, unspeakable, suffering Taiwanese people. In TV news, newspaper, magazines, and online media, we all see that Taiwanese government is projecting an image of preserving human rights. But behind the scenes, many government officials turn a blind eye to the human rights violation and shameful abuse of the government's power. Among them, the illegal tax bonus is the major evil. This illegal tax bonus has enticed a few covetous officials to issue illegal tax bills. Thus, in year 2020, alone in Taiwan, there was 14.31 million new tax cases, so-called pending tax enforcement, where the tax payment was enforced by covetous officials. At the same time, in Taiwan, the malfunctioning administrative and legislative systems make a rule that whenever receiving a wrongful tax bill before petition, people must pay one-third of the wrongful amount or provide a certain amount of bail to avoid auction of property, detention, custody, restriction of exit the country, deprivation of your personal freedom. It's sad to be a Taiwanese in this situation because it's like the caste system in India, and we are like the untouchables. We will never be able to move up because when you suddenly get an unreasonable tax bill, even prior to the petition, you must pay one-third of the wrongful tax amount first. If you don't have enough financial resource, might wait through your petition, or your property may be taken by them. What's more, the tax collection agency often issues sky-high tax amounts, multiplies penalties that ordinary people simply can't afford. Therefore, so-called administrative petition is just to intimidate people to give up, even if you don't give up, and take it to the administrative court. According to the statistic, for tax and legal experts and scholars, the rate of losing the case is as high as 94%, which has led the notoriety of Taiwanese administrative court as the losing court. Even if the petitioners win the case by a slim chance of 6%, the judge of administrative court does not revoke the original tax bill. Instead, it only returns the tax bill to the NTB for them to issue a new one. This process makes an illegal tax bill immortal, just like the everlasting caste system that can be turned over. In such an unfair and full of trap tax environment, the impact is not only individual, but global. Because the poor tax environment leads to economic stagnation and brain drain. Oxford Economics has ranked Taiwan the highest in brain drain globally by 2021 in its report. Among the losing of workforce, the young, educated talent accounted for 61.1%, which means that every 10 losing manpower, there are 6 who are young, educated professionals. If the government fails to face this problem, the young people in Taiwan don't have a future. So I would like to encourage you, the Taiwanese citizen, with a quote by Martin Luther King, Jr., the leader of American civil rights movement. History will have to record the greatest tragedy of its period of society transition was not the strident clamor of bad people, but the appalling silence of good people. Do not underestimate the influence of you and me. Perhaps it's ourselves, or perhaps it's the people around us. We all say we love Taiwan, but very few people have asked themselves, what are we willing to do for Taiwan? Although we are not necessarily among of frontline activities, as long as we start to notice and follow Taiwan's legal and tax reform, we will definitely be able to uncover these people who continue to corrupt Taiwanese justice system and violate human rights behind the scenes. Work together to bring justice and truth to the world and create a happy, glorious, and flourishing Taiwan. The above is the voice of Taiwanese youth generation for the concern of tax environment. Thank you.
The dream is plump and the reality is skinny, but we can be as unyielding as Nick is to the reality that we are not satisfied with, as long as everyone cares a little more, such as discussing some social issues or sharing this live broadcast, so that the ugly reality will bloom beautiful flowers. So the next one, Lian, a college student, uphold the passion for life in Taiwan, but is questioning the way we live now. Is it the way we like? How should we live? Let's listen to Lilian.
The world has degenerated to the point where everyone is talking about the meaning and value of life. But it seems that without technology, everything will be paralyzed. Without vaccines, epidemics cannot be controlled. Without money, one's conscience and soul can be burned to the ground. At this moment, we are actually trapped on the same boat that sails to a catastrophe. Without each and every one of us fighting hard, destruction is near. I was born after 1990. At our generation, I can only look at the small luck in front of me. And people at my age also muddle through their lives. Even though we're trying hard, each of us is burdened with more than $1 million of debt, so much so that we are constantly suffocating. Our future seems to be set in the course. Nobody is brave enough to take a leap of faith. Our dreams and ambitions are buried deep in our hearts. But living is not supposed to be like this. Have you ever wondered that when did all these seemingly natural occurrences start to become more and more rampant and uncontrollable? Behind the depths, there are the greedy hearts. Taiwan is facing the most urgent situation where hundreds of billions of dollars in overtaxation are not returned to the people every year. We don't know where it went. Surprisingly, the enforcement cases due to taxes and fees in arrears have doubled each year. Under the impact of the epidemic, the country's tax revenue has reached a record high of 403.4 billion. The illegal and incorrect tax bills are the cause of the tax disaster that destroyed many people's families and lives. The people have been feeding a group of accomplices that hollow out Taiwan's future. And it pains me to say, this is the result of the silent treatment of each and every one of us in the face of injustice. Many young adults do not care about news, politics, current affairs, or social issues. However, while we think about protecting our families and clinging to our little luck, we forgot about one thing. How can we keep a family without a country? If we don't care about our country, how can we start a family and live in peace and happiness here? Fear of being troubled, not caring anything besides yourselves, and only sweeping the snow in front of your doors will only let the things and the people you love into destruction. We can no longer pretend that we didn't see the legislator who was alive a moment ago left 3 messages. I'd rather die than living in the unjust Taiwan before he stepped out of a building and killed himself. 3 children who were falsely accused by prosecutors failed to clear their names and prove their innocence, chose to kill themselves, leaving their mother in excruciating pain, shouting, "Justice is unjust." Miss Wu, who was forced to pay her boss's tax, diagnosed with cancer, and the money for her chemotherapy was taken by the enforcement agency. Taiwan is sick. Taiwanese are sick. Why don't we stand up and start to care? Why don't we unite together to put a stop? Why do we choose to be silent when we pass by and hear and see those who are being persecuted? We choose to remain silent, and we choose to live in our little pathetic lucky lives and can't seem to escape. We can no longer feel sincere from bottom of our hearts, and there is no real happiness. Living really shouldn't be like this. Generations will change. The future of the country is in the hands of the young adults who were born in and after 1990s. However, are we ready to jointly carry and bear the future of this world? To live is to take good care of the people and things you love. Be worthy of the world and be worthy of yourself. At this moment, stand up for all injustice, fight for what we love, and live fearlessly.
Thank you, Lilian. And she just mentioned that Taiwanese people are sick. But sickness is not terrible as long as the right medicine is prescribed. Taiwanese physician Tao Yong once wrote in his book, "As long as you are conscious and still breathing, you can choose to love the world, your body, and the people around you." I believe that viewers online today all love Taiwan. When we find out that taxation has become a weapon for the government to prosecute human rights, it's very important to abolish the illegal bonus systems and the accomplice structure. So next, this young man who lost Taiwan has something to say to our government. Let's welcome Steve, a software engineer.
Hello, everyone. My name is Steve. I'm a volunteer of Tax and Legal Reform League, and here are some messages I want to dedicate to my beloved country, Taiwan. When I was in elementary school, I feel honored and enjoy singing the national anthem loudly. I love the way the national flag slowly roses and fluttered in the wind. I also believe that all government officials will work for the benefit of its people and try hard to build a better place for us to live in. However, I finally realized that everything is false as I grew older. The rogue bureaucrats in Taiwan are always bullying its people, which is completely the opposite of what I learned from school. The government, as the public servant, is supposed to protect its people. Besides, the Constitution and laws can protect good people, and that justice can finally defeat evil. But what I see now is that Constitution and laws have become tools for the rogue bureaucrats to persecute the people. No matter how people stand up against them, no matter how people call for help, all they can do is watching the government officials slaughtering with power and brute force. There is a term which Taiwanese government like to use, which is according to the law. But we never know whether it's being followed or not, because people don't understand it. They can never win the officials. Even if they win, the officials in Taiwan will still ignore them. When the officials say, according to the law, Mr. Teng Jingshui's house, which worth 2.5 million new Taiwan dollar, was seized and auctioned off. The rogue bureaucrats almost forced he and his family to live on the street. When the officials say, according to the law, they illegally issued Ye Yangchun an inexplicable large amount of tax bill and banned Mr. Ye from leaving the country, which led to a divorce from his wife in the US. A biotech expert who was willing to contribute his expertise to Taiwan was completely ruined by our government. When the officials said, according to the law, Dr. L's company, patents, and property were all illegally seized by the rogue bureaucrats, a genius inventors with thousands of patents become a tax defaulters who owned billions of taxes. When the police said according to the law, one elderly volunteer, Miss Huang, was surrounded by dozens of police officers and taken to the integration room all night. So if we don't speak up, justice will not come out of nowhere. If we don't speak up soon, no one will be able to voice out anymore. These illegal officials are gradually eroding our democracy and rule of law, our freedom, and our property. Slowly, without warning, they took over Taiwan's justice, just like how COVID-19 intruded in our lives. So, when the officials use according to the law to deal with you, we must stand up and confront them like warriors. Tell them that they are wrong. When the officials bully people, we must act like a hero, stand with them, and tell the officials that we are the master of the country and the country belongs to us. Let us stand up and tell them that if they don't reflect on themselves, they will become the ash thrown into the trash can and being forgotten by their descendants. People are not the officials' performance of illegal taxing and enforcement. Please keep it in mind that when you take off your suits, you are also one of the people. I hope Taiwan will be able to achieve human rights, justice, and equality in the near future. All officials have the ability to serve the people. All the legislators could voice out for people and be dedicated to making the country and society better. When that time eventually comes, I would like to ask everyone to sing the national anthem loudly and watch the flags flutter in the wind. We still have a chance. We still have time. Let's work together and build our homeland with conscience. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve, for awakening everyone's patriotic heart. I also hope that with the government's real reforms, the people of Taiwan will hold their heads high and be proud of Taiwan's true justice, true democracy, and true rule of law. As what Steve has mentioned, Nazi Hitler has been infamous for thousands of years, but former German Chancellor Brandt apologized with the Warsaw kneeling. He knelt down but he made Germany stand up in front of the whole world, and he won the Nobel Peace Prize. Therefore, the worst era is also the best one. So it is the time for our government to carry out drastic reforms. I believe all people will surely agree. And surely, a professional would like to examine Taiwan's so-called freedom and democracy with everyone. Does it really guarantee social fairness and justice? Let's welcome Shirley.
Hi everyone, I'm a Gen Y and also known as the strawberry generation in Taiwan, meaning people who bruise easily and cannot withstand pressure. But we're also the generation who witnessed lots of revolutionary environmental changes and transformations. We encountered SARS pandemic when we were in high schools, degree inflation when we were in universities due to the education reform that led to a drastic increase of colleges and universities. When we were about to start working, the 2007 and 8 financial crisis broke out, where you can hardly expect a decent compensation, and meanwhile, the housing price kept rising crazily. But even so, I still believe that in Taiwan, the land full of freedom and houses any kinds of possibilities. If you work hard, there's a chance to pursue your dream and change your life. But now I believe that there's only a chance for Taiwan to reform only when the people in this country fully utilize their freedom of speech and monitor the government closely. A few years ago, a Singaporean teenager was imprisoned because of criticizing Singaporean government on social media. I was very surprised by the news because in Taiwan, no one would ever get convicted due to criticizing government publicly. I chatted with my Singaporean friends and asked them if they feel deprived of freedom living in this country. And here's what they told me. We have a competitive education system, low unemployment rate, and one of the highest home ownership rates, high quality of public security, and strict rules to enforce the practice of law, which ensure fairness and justice. How about Taiwan? Does the democratic system and the rule of law in Taiwan assure you these basic rights? I was wordless when prompted with these questions. Fairness and justice sound really utopian and is something that you could hardly expect in real life. Here's an example. There was a prosecutor who was investigated and identified 8 violations of law by Control Yuan nearly 20 years ago. But no government officials treated this seriously. And the prosecutor has never received a proper punishment for his illegal and ridiculous behavior. What's worse, he was promoted to Deputy Director of Agency Against Corruption. If you violate the law, then you get a punishment. That's what a normal country would do. However, in Taiwan, it's common to see bureaucrats shield one another out of personal interest, and this abnormal somehow became a new normal. At times, we joke ourselves to free ourselves from slavery of works and learn to refuse the unreasonable requests from our bosses. Then why would we allow and tolerate such an abnormal becoming a normal? The Constitution of Taiwan is based on 3 principles of the people, and taxation is one of the means to realize the principle of people's livelihood, to mitigate the wealth gap and boost the society to a wealthier condition. However, Taiwan has been moving from prosperous to poor since more than 10 years ago, and taxation was one of the pain points that torture people. Over the past 10 years, despite 2020, 2012, 2013, Taiwan's tax bureau overcollected tax every single year. The tax overcollection amount reached a historical high of 400 billion NT dollars for 2021. But why there's always a fiscal deficit and the revenue is always not enough to support the spend? And the government borrowing amounts could range from tens to hundreds of billion dollars every year. Unfortunately, we see a lot of wasting in government spending. They blew $261 billion on more than 500 white elephants. The Qingfu fraudulent case cost $20.6 billion. Public banks granted unsecured loans to Chinese enterprises total $90.8 billion, exposing people to bad debt risk. And Taiwan's mega international commercial bank was fined $6.6 billion by US Fed for anti-money laundering violations. The losses and debts were all paid off by tax, the money the people earned through their hard work. But the government not only takes it for granted, but also ashamed its people with these scandals. In addition, the reintroduction of CGT, capital gain tax, blacked big investors and turned away many major market players. The falling interest in trading not only dragged down the local share price, causing the market value evaporated NTD $2.2 trillion within only 5 months, but also led to the undercollection of security trading tax for $55 billion and the net outflow of foreign capital for $45 billion. This rash decision was due to the lack of thoughts of the former Minister of Finance, Zhang Shenghe, and it was criticized massively that it was a wrong policy. The Control Yuan conducted an investigation in order corrective measures, commented that the wrong policy is even more terrible than corruption. However, none of the bureaucrats took responsibilities for such a wrong policy and the losses caused. Moreover, Zhang Shenghe stated firmly that there was nothing for him to apologize for, arguing his way out and trying to make believe that such a loss is necessary in progressing. At the end of the day, the countless financial losses resulted from their negligence always became the burden of the people. The succeeded former Minister of Finance, Zhu Yuzhe, even stated that, just tax people for whatever government spending, during the interpellation by a legislator. Those bureaucrats never have to take responsibilities whenever they break a rule or make a mistake, and the liability is always borne by the people. Even if there's economic growth and bring people more income, it's still impossible to make up the financial black hole. It is depressing earning low income and not being able to afford a house or a car. But a system which looks democratic but in essence deprives hopes and possibilities pushes people in despair. Our negligence and tolerance toward guilt will never lead us to a better world. If we're willing to spend time comparing the prices when we're doing online shopping just to get a good bargain and save maybe just tens or hundreds of dollars, why don't we spend some time to understand more about our tax system, under which you might get a tax bill without a legal base, and the amount could be tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Democracy should come with public monitoring and scrutinizing of government power. If the freedom of speech is the one and only power we have, then we should make the most of it and let the words from us become the strength of improvement and reform. So, let's be brave and speak out for the unfair and unjust.
Thanks, Shirley, for pointing out a lot of Taiwan's financial problems and back structure in the legal and tax system. She also mentioned just now that in Taiwan, as long as you work hard enough, you will have a chance to turn over. But we believe even more that only when all the people make good use of our freedom of speech to monitor the government together can we have a chance to turn over. The voice of our viewers and good friends can also be a force. So next, the brand designer Lian wrote a letter to all the Taiwanese people to rescue you and me and rescue Taiwan. Let's welcome Lian.
Hello everyone. This is an SOS letter to save Taiwan to my dearest Taiwanese. I'm an ordinary native Taiwanese youth, just like everyone. I had many dreams when I was young. I once dreamed that I could become a teacher who picks up a red pen to correct students' exam papers. Dreamed of being a policeman who can protect people. Dreamed of becoming a doctor who can save lives. Dreamed of becoming a diplomat who can be the face of the country and help to expand Taiwan's international diplomacy. I also dreamed of stepping on high heels, just like Miranda in the movie The Devil Wears Prada, who has a job that everyone admires. I believe that everyone has dreams in their hearts, but how many people actually make it happen? How many people have become the top leaders of the pyramid, living comfortably? How many people still can promise with reality in the end? become an office worker with minimum wage, and live mediocrity every day. To maintain the essentials, one doesn't even have the courage to chase their dreams. Why do young people in Taiwan have to give in to reality, constantly worry about unemployment, unable to afford a house, afraid of the expense on getting married or having children? The education degree is worthless here, and the money earned through hard work cannot afford the basic expenses of a day's life. Food, clothing, housing, and transportation are fundamental of life, but with decades of saving, we can't even afford a house. Who the hell stole our future? What happened in Taiwan? What should we, as a young generation, do? What everyone doesn't know is that behind these chaos, there is a group of tax bureaucrats for the sake of bonuses and promotion. They illegally issue tax bills and use all means to loot the people's money. Many companies are scared and moved out, and international companies is afraid to come in. What everyone doesn't know is that these tax officials have caused us to lose many job opportunities, indirectly lead to low wages, and make Taiwan uncompetitive. Taiwan's economy and future had been stolen by these rogue officials. What everyone doesn't know is that this distorted legal and tax system not only stole our money and future, but also took away the lives of countless people. There are 14.31 million compulsory enforcement cases in Taiwan. Behind this terrifying number, every day, every moment, every minute, every second, there are people who are separated from wives and families at any time. Families are destroyed at any time, and those who can't stand it anymore choose to end their lives. In January this year, there were 2 murders that shocked the society. 3 people in Puli committed suicide by hanging themselves due to miscarriage of justice. One of the deceased mothers accused them of being falsely accused and killed. And 6 days later, former legislator Pang Jianguo fell from a building and died. Before his death, he left 3 sentences. Injustice in Taiwan. My life is better than death. On January 29th, Xie Zhihong, who was detained for 6,834 days and sentenced to death 9 times, finally received 34.17 million in criminal compensation. Xie Zhihong is not guilty, only because of an unjust imprisonment, which ruined his youth for 18 years and almost lost his life. However, the judge who sentenced him to death is still at large, and the huge compensation of tens of millions of dollars for unjust imprisonment is paid by everyone in Taiwan. How many people's lives have been ruined by the injustice in Taiwan? It stifled the future of all Taiwanese and left us without the courage to even dream. From top to bottom, from the president to the executive yuan, legislative yuan, judicial yuan, control yuan, and the examination yuan. When the people are in trouble, they ignored the people's heart-wrenching cry, ignored the people's deep misery, nor reach out to people's distress signals. My dearest Taiwanese, we can no longer allow such a corrupt legal and tax system to continue to mutilate Taiwan's future. This is the responsibility of each of us. of the 23 million people on this island. Even if we are just ordinary people, even if we are facing the huge and stubborn state machine, there is still one thing. As long as we do it, we will definitely change the future of Taiwan. That is, from every one of your concern. When every one of you starts to really care about Taiwan's legal and tax system, when every one of you starts to care about your rights, when every one of you begins to care about Taiwan's development and future, I believe that Taiwan will be different in 10 years, 5 years, or even tomorrow. I also hope that all the youths here think carefully. What do we hope Taiwan will be like 10 years later? One day, the current rogue bureaucrats and corrupt officials will be eliminated due to the passage of time. When the whole society is filled with our generation, when legislators, finance ministers, executive directors, and even presidents have all become our generation, what do you want to make Taiwan look like? My dearest Taiwanese, at this moment, you and I are the key and hope for the transformation of Taiwan. Let's eliminate social injustice, change Taiwan's low wages, and change our future together. I hope that one day, Taiwan will be truly prosperous, strong, and happy, and the country will be prosperous and peaceful. When my kids ask me, "Mommy, can I be a teacher when I grow up?" I can tell him firmly, "Hey, no matter what you do, as long as you like it, Mommy will support you." Because by then, people perform their respective duties and live happily ever after in Taiwan. They no longer have to worry about food, clothing, and young people can bravely pursue their dreams on this land. Thank you.
Thank you, Lian, for writing such a touch letter. And I believe everyone has felt the same. Our speakers today not only have sharings that are touching, but they have also taken actions and participated in the legal and tax reform movement. They have done a lot of research and proposed solutions for problems. But listening to this, some people might still think that the young people are not working hard enough, or is not the problem of the system and the generation environment. Therefore, we have invited a senior instructor at a military academy who has teaching for 13 years. He is also the United Nations World Citizens Association Human Rights Observer, Dr. Liu Mingzhe, in environmental engineering from National Jiao Tong University. Dr. Liu will be speaking out if it's true that Taiwan's legal and tax reforms cannot be delayed, as those young people has observed, from a global point of view. Let's welcome Dr. Liu.
Abolish the bonus system to save Taiwan. I am a veteran and have been teaching at a military school for 13 years. In the past 2 years, my students ask me, "Professor Lau, do you think there will be a war in the Taiwan Strait?" I always tell my students that the highest strategy in Sun Tzu's Art of War is to conquer the enemy without fighting. I will stand with you and get prepared. I hope there will be peace in the Taiwan Strait forever. That is my sincerest wish, but is it really easy to make it come true? The cover of the May 1, 2021 edition of the British Economist magazine features a picture of Taiwan with the caption, "The most dangerous place on earth." This year, on January 23, World Freedom Day, China sent 39 warplanes into Taiwan's air defense zone. Now, 2 U.S. aircraft carrier groups have entered the South China Sea for training. There are hundreds of thousands of troops near the border between Ukraine and Russia. Once a war breaks out, Taiwan will most likely become a purgatory. At this critical moment, Taiwan Legislative Yuan is reviewing the total annual budget of 2.2 trillion new Taiwan dollars, with the total defense budget been an unprecedented 412.7 billion new Taiwan dollars. Young students and citizens in front of the Chuanxian building of Taiwan's Legislative Yuan. They protested for 4 days over a meager 130 million new Taiwan dollars in bonuses set aside by the Ministry of Finance for tax collection. Why? My observations, 3 major aspects. First, bonuses are a breeding ground for corruption. Bjorn Terrace Wahlberg, the founder of the World Taxpayers Association, WTA, criticized the bonus system for tax collection as shameful and said it should be abolished. Staffan Wenberg, former chairman of the WTA, said bluntly that the tax authorities should serve the taxpayers and that it is a total mistake to have the bonuses for tax collection, which have caused corruption and conflicts between the tax authorities and taxpayers. In 2021, more than 400 billion new Taiwan dollars was overcollected. Many of our neighboring countries and territories, like Singapore, South Korea, Hong Kong, and Macau, have refunded to their people overcollected taxes. But Taiwan's Ministry of Finance, regarded as a brilliant tribute to the rulers to show off their performance and to be utilized by them? Money talks. It is no wonder that no matter which political party is in power, no one doesn't love the Ministry of Finance, no one is not afraid of the Ministry of Finance. Former Finance Minister Chang Shengford even retorted the salaries of the officers are not high enough to support their integrity by saying that he insulted himself and all other civil servants. It is no wonder 2004, over 100 legislators, such as Chu Hsnu, finally removed the bonus program for tax collection, which was the legacy of martial law, after a heated discussion. But in 2008, the Ministry of Finance restored it with its administrative guidelines, which lacked legal grounds, but each year a budget for the illegal bonus was proposed and even passed. The party's interests have taken precedence over justice and the people. Former legislators Huang Wenling and Lo Shulai could not help but reveal that legislators themselves and their family businesses are dependent on the NTB. They revealed that, by helping businesses negotiate a lower tax amount, legislators can get financial benefits in return. All these have caused the failure of the Legislative Yuan's oversight of the executive branch. Overcollection of taxes is like a high-speed train, out of control and horrifying. Replacing the principle of taxation based on actual taxable income, the so-called principle of taxation based on substantial economy, has been used to issue tax bills based on speculation and guesswork, which is a totalitarian weapon used by the German Nazis to rob people's property. Huang Kunquang, former auditor of the NTB, has stepped forward to criticize the Taxation Bureau's use of guesswork, shows no need for tax auditors. The media revealed that most of the bonuses went into the accounts of senior government officials. The grassroots tax collectors only received 2 oranges. Former Finance Minister Wang Qiansuan, before leaving office, found an extra 10 million new Taiwan dollars in his account. He returned it without taking a penny. So the dark bonus program came to light. High-ranking officials get the highest bonus amounts and hold the power to determine whether to grant promotion to their subordinates. High-ranking officials want to get bonuses, so their subordinates have to issue as many tax bills as they can. Such a corrupt structure is worrying, isn't it? Second, bonus is the source of tax disasters. My judge friend said with a heavy heart, how can an unjustified tax bill be withdrawn and the unjust case be rectified when the bonuses have been distributed among the officers? The 2 international covenants, ICCPR and ICESCR, guarantee people's equal rights to litigation, but the administrative remedy system in Taiwan is like sending taxpayers to the hellish and endless cycle of torture. Tax officers have the final say on whether the tax bills are valid. They would use guesswork to determine. If you get a tax bill of $3 million, to prove the tax bill is wrong, you have to pay $1 million in guarantee before filing a lawsuit. If you can't pay it, you will have to face asset freeze, travel ban, and detention. While in the United States, it only costs $60 to file such a lawsuit. In the end, people, like tax slaves, hope the administrative court help them rectify cases. Legislator Lian, when questioning the Ministry of Finance, disclosed that the people's success rate in tax litigation is 60% in Denmark, 44% in Germany, and only 0.3% in Taiwan. It means no1 successful. The administrative court judges are not well versed in tax law and unable to make a final decision for the people. Even if the people are win the cases, the wrong tax bills will be returned to the Taxation Bureau, which issued the tax bills, allowing it to issue similar tax bills, resulting in a horrible and never-ending cycle of illegal tax bills. May I ask, can anyone or any company endure this kind of torture? To meet over a cup of coffee has become the best way for taxpayers and tax officers to negotiate a tax dispute and create a win-win-win situation. Article 19 of the Constitution of the ROC stipulates, the people shall have the duty of paying taxes in accordance with law. It means that we should pay the tax we pay, not a penny less, but we should not to pay then don't pay it, not even a penny more. That is what a law-abiding citizen should do. Because the bonus money has been distributed to the pockets of senior officials. The tax system ensures that tax officials have a 100% victory in threatening people to pay unjustified taxes. Tax justice and human rights have been seriously violated. When bureaucrats impose excessive and unjustified taxes, the downfall of the dynasty is near. Bonuses and performance have stimulated the crazy overcollection of taxes. Bonus has been the reason why unjust tax cases have failed to get rectified. Over decade, the new cases of unpaid taxes and government fees pending enforcement has increased by 7.53 times, and the number of such cases reached 14.31 million in 2020. Willy Fodder, director of Brussels-based NGO Human Rights Without Frontiers, after studying the Tai Ji Men case said, the system of tax bonuses granted to public servants can lead to undue fiscal and judicial harassment for years and decades. This system is a form of organized corruption inside the state and an abuse of power of their leaders and their staff for personal financial benefit. The bonuses for tax collection, which account for a mere 0.006% of the annual budget, become the only fat cats in the system of public servants. This bonus system paralyzed the operation of the constitutional system of five powers, also endangered national security. Shouldn't we be concerned? Third, the awakening of conscience, all people save the country. The famous historical general Yu Fei is regarded as the saint of martial arts, and even the leader of his enemies Jin Wuzhu's side. It is easy to shake the mountain, but difficult to shake Yu's army, because the army led by Yu was disciplined and loved the people as their own family members. Yu Fei famously stated, "The civil officials are not greedy, and the military officials are not afraid to die. The world will be at peace." With its enemies lurking around, Taiwan is facing a grave threat, but the abolition of the 130 million new Taiwan dollars bonus for tax collection has failed. Can we wait and do nothing? Albert Einstein said, "The world will not be destroyed by those who do evil, but by those who watch them without doing anything." We urge the Taiwanese government to implement true tax and legal reform. We shall save Taiwan with conscience. At this critical moment, we cannot make it without you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Liu. That's right. It's you who is listening to the live broadcast and participating in this social movement. Every day could be a day to change the world, and every one of you could be the starting point to change the world. Said in my favorite picture book by writer Hao Guangcai. Before urging for a change, we just had an even more clear picture of who stole the future of Taiwanese with the entire discussion today. It's a taxation bonus system, starting with authoritarianism and a corrupting financial system with the structure of accomplice. Without effective punishments and eliminate mechanisms, government officials violate the law, abusing power and ignoring people. So, how do we take back the future of Taiwan? First, knowledge is powerful. Acquiring the right knowledge of laws in taxation and human rights is the way we can protect ourselves and our country. Second, people are the masters of the country. Open our eyes. Not only we people enjoy the rights of being the masters of the country, but also we are responsible for electing the right government, officials who love the people and justice. The last but not the least, we can do the above two things by searching at the official website of the Action Aliens of Redress 1219. I look forward to our joint efforts to create a brighter future for Taiwan. Thanks for watching and see you next time.